My name is Max,
What?
named after the famous musician and poet from Disneyland, Max, Goofy's son.
What's your last name?
Lucado, but there's no relation. I deal in Disney-themed haikus.
Oh, good. We are in for a treat
So I'd like
today.
to just offer up some for you real quick, and you give me your honest opinions.
Are you sure you want that?
The mouse has money. I do not have much money. Please, mouse, take my cash. Magic everywhere. Children laugh and children cry. Genie Plus cost what? How are these? Are these
You
in
know
poetry?
I do not like haikus at all.
You like the Ren Fair? I enjoy Batu bounding. You are no better. None of these are really hitting for you, huh?
No, I don't like haikus. So it
$3
doesn't
beer
matter.
at home. $12 beer at Oga's. Magic cost extra. Now listen, there's a lot of talent that goes into something
Oh,
like
I
this.
believe it. I understand
We
that.
all
I
have
just don't
hobbies.
like that talent.
So what? I like Disneyland. Stop laughing at me. This is all really good stuff.
Post it
I've
on the
lost my-
internet and see and have people say how good it is.
I panicked and I read all of my haikus very quickly.
To all Disney adults and morbidly curious casuals, we proudly present our spectacular festival pageant of theme park ramblings and peculiar opinions in thousands of seconds of average quality sounds of Mice and Matterhorns podcast.
Welcome to Of Mice and Matterhorns. I'm your host, Dana Robinson, along with my co-host and wife,
Shannon Robinson.
where we revel alongside and reveal the mystery of Disney adults. Disney Daydreams, is there anything Disney related that you want to talk about at the top of the episode?
Tiana's Palace is scheduled to open September
You-
7.
Did you say that was yours for last episode?
That was, yes, but it
Oh,
wasn't announced yet.
There was no date. You're right.
Yes, so now there's a date and there's a menu and there's rumored to be a holiday menu for Christmas time.
Yeah, and the menu looks almost really, really good.
Almost.
They're going to have, all the stuff you'd expect, red beans and rice. But there was one big one missing that I really, really, really hope that they bring back that isn't gone. I hope the menu that's been posted is just the new stuff. Because the shrimp po' boy wasn't on there. And the shrimp po' boy is only a recent-ish discovery for me. And it's maybe a top 5 food for me in the entire park.
Yeah, you've had it probably 2 times now. The new menu does have a beef po' boy, but the shrimp po' boy was not listed. So we'll have to see when the restaurant opens.
Yeah.
September 7.
There is shrimp and grits, which I will try. Poor consolation to how good that sandwich was.
I'm interested in the gumbo, but it doesn't, right now it is in a bowl, not a bread bowl. It'll depend on the price of everything too. So Royal Street Veranda, they will probably continue to have the bread bowls with gumbo or the Harbor Galley. So if they don't have the bread bowls at Tiana's Palace, I don't know that I'll do the gumbo there.
Well, hey, don't, I'll get the gumbo once, and then you can try it. And then
Yeah.
I'll get the shrimp and grits.
Okay.
You can try that too.
Oh, the beignets.
The lemon
the
beignets.
beignets are different. So I don't know if the Mickey ones are coming back. They weren't clear on that.
I assume they have to be, but
But these are little square beignets and they have lemon in the center. And they look like they're glazed rather than powdered sugar on the exterior. Unless they just put the powdered sugar on too soon and it melted.
at what point does a beignet just become a donut? I mean, if you're omitting the powdered sugar and filling it with lemon and putting a glaze on there, I'm not complaining.
It looked more like those pies that you can get at the grocery store that come in those packaging.
Also delicious. Like, it's not a bad thing
That's what it
necessarily, but
looks
I'll just head
like.
to the Jazz Kitchen if I want some beignets.
Yep.
I'm excited. I'm tempted to not even do mobile order the first time we go. I mean, depending on the line.
Right.
Because I really want to see the inside. Like,
Yeah.
we saw some of the pictures from it, and it looks really cool. And then we watched The Princess and the Frog, actually, last night after we put the kids to bed.
Well, you were making red beans and rice, and I had it on my mind that I wanted to watch the movie again because it had been a long time. And so it just felt right to watch the movie.
But a lot of the interior in Tiana's Palace in the movie, like, it looks like it had been a while since I'd seen it, but a lot of the interior looks like they actually mimic the location in the movie, especially the exterior, but the interior more so than I was expecting. So I'm excited to see that. My big Disney daydreams is that Lorcana released. Lorcana is very similar to like Magic the Gathering, the Pokemon trading card game, a number of other trading card games, except it's all Disney characters and there's a few different mechanics. So they released it at Gen Con, which is the US's biggest tabletop gaming convention. And it was so popular that they started having fist fights when they released the game, which is really unfortunate because, one, it's so hot that I can't get my hands on it. And two, it's kind of a bummer that happened. But there were people lining up, I think at 2 a.m. the night before.
So you have to wonder if those people having fist fights are Disney adults that are insane, or if they are people that are planning to resell on eBay.
Well, I think it's a mix of both. And that's the crazy thing, is that from what I heard from people that were at the show, is there was a big chunk of people that did not care about board games that were there and bought tickets specifically for Lorcana.
So hopefully by Christmas time it'll be available so I know what to get you for Christmas.
Okay, so we are going to continue our walk through Disneyland. And the last episode we talked about Downtown Disney and the Esplanade, and now we are headed into the park proper. And what I want to emphasize with these conversations that we have for anyone listening, these aren't going to be super deep dives, at least not in these first episodes. It's going to be from our viewpoint, our experiences walking into the park. And we'll maybe have some fun tidbits, especially today. I've got a couple anecdotes that I found pretty amusing that I'd like to share. So we enter the gates, and we aren't on Mainstreet USA right away, but I didn't know what to call this area, so I'm including it. But this is the front area right in front of the train station where you've got the big Mickey Mouse floral arrangement.
That I wanted to take, what was that, episode 0? If we could take one thing out of Disneyland. That's
you were trying to take that whole thing.
I wanted to take that, but we decided that wasn't possible. So instead, I'm just going to create that with tulips. I'm going to order tulips, and we're going to plant that in our yard.
Are you actually on board with that?
Yeah.
Because I think that's a great idea. That means
but
every year.
Not in the garden. I want to do that in our lawn. So you can't
in
mow
the lawn?
It. You can't mow it.
I was thinking the front garden. You're thinking the actual lawn?
You have to mow around it.
Oh, this is...
Anyway, back to the entrance. So that is a perfect picture opportunity. If there isn't a line, I highly recommend jumping in and getting a picture right then. In this morning, it's somewhat in the shade yet.
Did you see the video of the families fighting there? The park just opened, and they were racing to be the first ones to get their picture taken there, and two families got in a full-on fist fight.
What is wrong with
Can you
people?
imagine? You spent probably thousands of dollars getting to the park, getting in the park. They probably got in the park and within the first 2 minutes got lifetime bans for both their families.
Because they wanted to be the first ones to get a picture.
Because neither one of them could wait 4 minutes.
Now, there's a lot of people that care about whether they go through or under the train tracks on the right side or the left side. I don't have a preference. I like both
either.
Because we go infrequently. It's just so exciting to be there that I don't really care which side we go on.
I feel like the left-hand side has a straighter shot to the Main Street vehicles, like bus stop thing.
Yes, but the other car is on the right side.
Take your pick.
Yeah, but then you go under the railroad tracks, and then if you turn around, you get to see the back side of the train station. And if you're there after the park is opened, so you missed rope drop. Rope drop is you get there before the park opens, and you're allowed to go pretty much all the way down Main Street, and then it's roped off where the Walt Disney Mickey Mouse statue is, all the way across on both sides so that you can't get to any of the lands. And so then everyone just lines up there, and then it backs up into Main Street. And then at 8 o'clock, or I think it's typically 8 o'clock when the park opens. Occasionally it's 9 o'clock. Then at 8 o'clock, they drop the ropes, and you are not allowed to run, but you can walk briskly.
You can skip. I was listening to Rope Drop and Park Hop, and they had a guest on that was told by a cast member that you can't run, but you can skip. And everyone that cast member told just booked it and didn't get stopped by any other cast members skipping on down. I think this is in California Adventure. I think they were all booking it to Rogers the Musical.
I think I can fast walk faster than I can skip.
I can skip
but
pretty
my
darn
legs
fast.
are really long. I'm almost 6 feet tall.
Mine are short, but I'm pretty spry.
Well, yes, you married me. You have to keep up.
It's been years of just practicing that.
So if you're there after rope drop and you turn around to look at the train station after you've come under the railroad tracks, there's usually, is it the Fabulous Five? Is that what they're called?
The Fab
Or
Five of the
Fantastic, well.
Because who is it? It's Mickey, Donald, Pluto, Daisy, Goofy.
And Minnie.
and Minnie, so that's 6. I think they snuck Daisy in there, and then Chip and Dale are there a lot too.
Yes, Chip and Dale are there a lot. And right
So-
now they're in their 100-year
The
outfits.
Fab Five, but it's 8. There's 8 of them.
They've been in their 100-year outfits, but I believe on September 1st, it's switching over to Halloween.
And I want to point out one of the cool things, because it really is what Disneyland does very well, in my opinion, and some are better than others in their transitions between areas. So that front area it's like a foyer into Disneyland. You can't really see Main Street, but as you go under those tunnels, there's the sign, there's a plaque on there with a piece from Walt Disney's opening day speech. And as you're going under there, you read, "Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy." And it really sets the tone as you walk into something else, something completely different, which we're talking about today.
Disneyland.
Mainstreet USA. When people talk about the good old days and the idyllic yesteryears and things were always better back then, this is it. This is the picturesque 1950s American town with all of the sugar coating and none of the really kind of bad stuff that went on in the 50s. I'm so glad it's fantasy 50s and not actual 1950s.
Yes.
Because I'm genuinely not tough enough for that kind of situation.
Yeah, we've got the horse-drawn carriage. We've got the omnibus. Oh, and then there's the horseless carriage. Have you been in the horse-drawn streetcar?
I don't think I have.
Okay, so the omnibus is the double-decker.
Yeah.
And we rode that back to the front of the park, I believe. We rode on it's the horseless carriage. The horseless carriage has a roof. The fire truck does not.
We were in the horseless carriage.
Yes.
It is the way to travel down Mainstreet USA. All the other peasants.
One caveat, if you are doing rope drop, they are not running.
Yeah, entering Disneyland on a horse-drawn carriage or any of the Main Street vehicles where the castle slowly becomes bigger and bigger is the way to go. All the other peasants walking down Main Street have to get out of your way, hopefully tripping on the train tracks as they do so. It makes me
rude.
feel so good.
To see people tripping or to not be walking?
Both. I laugh when I trip on the train tracks.
I don't.
No, you get very upset. No,
I
laugh.
do not use very much language in my life, and I probably mutter it in
I-
those situations.
If I trip on the trolley tracks, I laugh. If I'm pushing a stroller and it gets caught in the trolley tracks, I'm furious. It's about the angriest that I've ever been in my life, and it's happened many times at this point.
Now, I will say, after seeing TikToks of people like tripping in the train tracks or showing their stroller, when that happens to me, I just think of that and it makes me laugh a little bit more because I'm like, I'm not the only one this happens to. There is a flag in the center at the beginning of Main Street. And apparently they do some kind of flag ceremony in the afternoon and the band comes and plays.
We've never seen it.
Never seen it. My mom and dad went like a few weeks after we did earlier this year. And they said they watched it every afternoon, and they asked us why we had never seen it.
They are some true patriots because we were on Thunder Mountain Railroad at that point, I think.
And later on, I realized why is because this was early 23. So there were still things that they had not implemented because of COVID. So they have been bringing the park back to what it was. Like there were shows that weren't happening. Like, why didn't you go to the, the Royal Theater and watch the show there?
Well, Wendy, because I was double fisting churros and running for Batu. Yeah, Main Street's, essentially bulb shaped. Or it's like a thermometer. Like this, the first area is this big round courtyard, and there's the flag in the center. There's all the horses. There's popcorn. There's shops. There's City Hall. And that's important because you can go get fancy buttons there for free.
All right, moving on down Main Street. The Emporium has lots of different things to buy. We always end up in there at some point, either in the heat of the day or on our way out. Don't want our Disney day to end.
My issue with some of those shops is that it's a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like at this point, most of the souvenir shops are selling the same stuff.
And you know why that is? It's strategic.
But still, I think some of the exclusivity is kind of cool. And I just think, let me wish on crimson skies. I think, maybe it's not as strategic as you'd like. I think that they should have some exclusivity in some of the shops. That, like, when I bought my Winnie the Pooh ears for that day, and maybe that day only, you could only get them in Pooh Corner. You had to walk all the way to Critter Country to get these Winnie the Pooh ears.
But let me remind you, weren't you complaining that you had to walk all the way over to Pooh Corner to get them?
I was complaining up until the point that I had them, and I felt very special for having them on my head, and I wanted everyone else to know that I was special. Also, the shops back in the day, like Main Street was not all just souvenir shops. It was meant to be a recreation of actual apothecaries and apothecaries? Main Street USA is a museum. It's a living museum. You look down Main Street, and what you're seeing is what people saw in the 1950s. But before, if you went into some of the shops, they recreated some of that, including visitors to the Upjohn Pharmacy exhibit experience the sights, sounds, and smells of the 19th century apothecary shop. The elaborate exhibit included historical nebulizers, atomizers, and a glass jar filled with live leeches, which is something that I think the Imagineers should bring back. They're cowards and they won't. Live leeches. Is that not, that wouldn't be cool to you? To go see a replica?
So there's also the crystal shop, which I really enjoy. And so it's really nice that they have it on Front Street so that if you want to buy something breakable, you can buy it on your way out rather than having to carry it all the way through the park.
I think the most interesting thing that's happened on Main Street, and this is something that I learned from the Make It Magic podcast, was that back in the day, and I think this is in the first opening months of Disneyland, they had a circus parade, and a tiger and a panther broke loose and started fighting in front of the guests. Can you imagine, in terms of food on Main Street, there's a lot of different options, and we haven't explored them all, namely Carnation Cafe we haven't been to. It's kind of the big one that I'd like to get to.
Yes.
What are your highlights?
Plaza Inn, their chicken dinner is phenomenal, especially with double mashed potatoes.
Didn't we say that in episode 02?
Yes, that was the last
that's a
meal.
Really good tip.
They have a salad bar as well. We probably need to branch out because I'm sure their other food is amazing.
I think I've only had the chicken dinner aside from their desserts, which they had the 100-year lemon chiffon pie.
That's right. Yes, that was very good.
Which we got there.
I think that was my favorite of the 100-year desserts.
And the chicken dinner's expensive, but it's also probably one of the bigger fast service menu items you can get in the park.
And you are willing to split it with me.
It's one of the few meals that I'm willing to split with anybody. And granted, I probably could finish it on my own. I probably shouldn't, but I'm also comfortably full while splitting it. And then grabbing a turkey leg afterward. Did you see the TikTok of the guy that bought a turkey leg and then went to the Plaza Inn?
No.
So he bought a turkey leg at one of the carts, and because you can get smoked turkey legs, that's a big thing at Disneyland. And he took it, the Plaza Inn, sat down, opened his backpack, and pulled out a whole case of King's Hawaiian rolls, and sat there and started having turkey sandwiches for everybody. That's a pretty darn good idea.
I thought when you said for everyone, I thought you meant other guests, and
just
I was
handing
appalled.
them out to other guests. Everyone was happy. The cast members were furious because he'd figured out.
You mean his family. Okay, phew. That's a really smart idea.
It is a smart idea because you can bring food in.
Yeah.
And the turkey legs are pretty big.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to stretch it.
That is a really good idea because then you don't have squished PB&J.
You bring in some Kewpie mayonnaise because it comes in a nice squeezable jar. By jar, I mean bottle.
My other favorite restaurant on Main Street is the Jolly Holiday. So that is where the chimney sweep cold brew is, which is phenomenal. They have the grilled cheese and tomato soup, which is my favorite thing to get at midnight on our way out of the park. And it also has my favorite dessert, the Raspberry Rose Mickey Macaron. The one thing I miss from there is the Practically Perfect Punch.
That was my all-time favorite drink in the entire park.
And it has been gone for a few years now. So we are sad about that. They have many other good offerings. That's where you can get a lot of the seasonal desserts as well. So the Halloween treats are coming out and they have a lot of those. Christmas time, that's where you can get the Mickey Mouse gingerbread. So they are the place to go. Mobile order all the way. Do not stand in that line because by the time you get through the line, all of it will be gone.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't.
So mobile order, because the other thing is if you mobile order, so tip number 1, we'll just start there, is mobile order when you are waiting for rope drop, because once you are scanned into the park, even though the park isn't open, you can start mobile ordering, especially when it's seasonal offerings like Christmas, the gingerbread, I mobile order while I'm waiting for rope drop to pick up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we're going to head back to the hotel to rest, because then I pick up our treats and we either eat them or we bring them back to the hotel to save them.
The Little Red Wagon is a corn dog cart that has the best corn dogs. I would say the best corn dogs that you can get that are not Korean corn dogs. They are absolutely delicious, hand-dipped corn dogs, fairly reasonably priced, and they come with chips.
My only beef with them, get it?
Oh, yes.
Our son's first time to Disneyland, and Daniel was like, we're going to get corn dogs for you and him. And I was going to get the chimichanga at when they still sold it at Edelweiss. I don't think they sell it there anymore. So I was over there. Daniel went and ran to that stand to get the corn dogs.
Not an insubstantial run to the stand either. It was a good little trek.
So Daniel goes and gets that, comes back, and our youngest son, and I'm like, hold it with 2 hands because those things are heavy. Hold it with 2 hands. Hold it with 2 hands. And he keeps just holding it with 1 hand. I'm like, hold it with 2 hands. I turn around for 1 second to help our other son with something, and the son with a corn dog drops it.
There are instances,
and I just
they say Disneyland's the happiest place on earth, but there are instances that every family experiences there, every trip, that is just the absolute worst. And I, again, for about 1/10 of a second, was filled with more rage than I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Because once again, Daniel thought he was going to have to run across the park to get more food.
The literal miles I have ran across that park specifically to get certain items of food because our kids will only eat certain things.
Yeah. So whenever you bring up, what's it called? The Red Wagon?
Yeah, the Red Wagon.
The Red Wagon, that is what I think of. And now it's funny, and the ducks all came and they were thrilled that there was a corn dog on the ground. And did you pick it up, peel all the bread off, and then eat the meat?
At that point, I said he's still eating it, and we peeled off the cornbread. I'm sure that was a fun thing for people to see, is this family with me just sweating there, beet red. You
me trying to keep my cool and not lose
why
it.
He did that. But yeah, the corn dogs are good. I'd recommend them.
Photo op must. So we talked about the flower Mickey Mouse at the front of the park when you enter. The other one is known as the partner statue, and that is Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse. And there's usually a photographer there. The castle is in the background. They can get some phenomenal shots there. The other must is in front of the castle. And last but not least, on Main Street,
the ducks.
Fireworks.
The fireworks. But the fireworks. Disneyland parades and Disneyland pyrotechnics kind of ruin all other parades and pyrotechnics. And Main Street is the best place to watch them. Arguably. Because Batu's super cool, but it's a different thing.
It is a different thing. I would say there's multiple places to watch fireworks. Main Street is one of them.
Yeah, in Main Street, they pump in the music and they've got projections on the castle and on the buildings there. Where's your favorite place to watch them on Main Street?
So I like to be somewhere around the refreshment corner. So you're still in the buildings, but still can see past trees.
For me, I like to be right in the middle of Main Street. So especially with the current fireworks show, which is Wondrous Journeys, which I think it may be my favorite fireworks show that I've seen in person. It's super cool. And the projections in particular, I think, stand out really well. And you get different projections on the castle, which is right in front of you if you're watching it in the middle of Main Street, as well as the buildings next to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it is sort of all engrossing, encompasses all of your senses. If you're in the middle of Main Street, you get the fireworks, you get the music, you get the smells of the popcorn and the snacks on Main Street, everything.
Yes. And the mix of music is really, really good for it. And can we say anything more about it?
Sure. Oh, you're talking about specifically Baymax and the Blue Fairy?
Yes. Baymax and the Blue Fairy. So with Wondrous Journeys, they have Baymax. Well, the Blue Fairy comes first, and she's actually coming from the left instead of the right like Tinkerbell did. And then Baymax comes in from the left, I think, goes all the way over to the right and then back. It was amazing.
It's nuts.
I don't know how, I don't know if it's robots or...
The Blue Fairy at least is drones, I think.
Drones. Oh,
you know
okay.
what's nuts? And this we'll talk about maybe when we get to Tomorrowland. In the 1960s, they had a man in an actual rocket pack fly around the Matterhorn.
Wow.
And I had to look it up to see if it was real, and it was. They had a man in a jetpack in the 1960s fly around the Matterhorn in Disneyland, California. He did not look super confident or he didn't seem real sure about the situation, but yes, he lived.
Wow.
Okay, we've been talking about this for a while, so let's just jump into our last topic is top 5 experiences that you've not had at Disneyland. And this would be excluding some of the VIP experiences, specifically like Club 33, having a tour around the park with someone in a plaid vest, getting that private tour and all that. What would be experiences on your to-do list at the Disneyland Resort that you haven't experienced?
So what we have done the Fantasmic Dining Package at the River Belle Terrace. Highly recommend. We have done the Storytellers Cafe World of Color Dining Package. Also recommend. We have gone to the Blue Bayou. We have done Sweetheart Night. We have been there at Christmas time, Halloween, and Lunar New Year, just to give a backdrop of what we have experienced beyond just the normal rides and restaurants.
Okay. Do you want to start? We'll just maybe alternate.
Yep.
We'll go over them real quick.
I would like to do the Plaza Inn dining package with parade viewing. And we didn't talk about the parade for Main Street. I love dining packages, apparently.
That's not one that I've done either. So what's the deal? You pay for the dining package, you get special seating, and what's the menu item?
It's not the chicken. I think it's a braised short rib.
Is it like a 3-course meal type of deal?
Yes, it's a 3-course meal. And since it is quick service, you just pick it up between a certain time and then they give you a lanyard to come back. There's usually an afternoon parade and an evening parade, and I don't know how it's decided on which one you get or if you get to pick, but there is reserved seating that you can sit at. So there are benches that you sit on for the parade rather than standing or sitting on the ground. I believe it's reasonably priced, like $45 for adults and $25 for kids.
My first experience is piloting the Mark Twain on the Riverboats of America, which is the big lake in the center of Disneyland. There's a giant Mississippi riverboat, and I want to drive it. And as insane as that may sound on paper, if you talk to cast members and you say, hey, I'd really love to drive the Mark Twain, there's a slim possibility that they will take you up to the captain's section at the top of the boat. The captain will talk to you and let you kind of hold the helm for a little bit. And if you do that, you get to sign a special guest book that all the pilots of the Mark Twain have signed, including Walt Disney himself. So you would have your signature in the same guest book that Walt Disney has his in, which I think would be a really cool experience.
My second one is Lamplight Lounge during World of Color. They do not have a dining package, but they do have a outside sitting eating area that you can see World of Color from. So if you can get a reservation during the time that World of Color is on, you are able to see. It's not like a straight on view of World of Color, but I have heard that it is a fun experience and I've never eaten there.
My number 2, I'm staying on the rivers of America. I want to get on the canoes. One of the rides at Disneyland is the canoe ride, which up until fairly recently, I assumed was a premium experience that you had to pay extra to do. Shannon never felt the need to tell me that it was a free ride that we could do. So you get to go on a canoe and the instructor tells you what to do, and you get to go on the rivers of America and go around Tom Sawyer. I guess it's not Tom Sawyer Island. It's Pirate Island.
Yeah, my favorite is when you see the canoes going around and only the 2 cast members are rowing and everyone else is just sitting there with the oars in their lap, just looking around. And I'm like, oh, those poor cast members.
That being said, those cast members are the most physically fit out of anyone in the entire park.
Definitely. I would assume that's true. I haven't really checked anyone out. Have you?
Yeah, they're ripped. Those guys could bench press me.
Exclude that part. All right. Number 3 for me is the Oogie Boogie Bash. I am not a huge Halloween person, but the Oogie Boogie Bash looks really fun. And I want to see the Redwood Forest they transition into, what was it? The Villain Grove. And it just looks really neat. And it's only available during the after hours event. So someday I would like to do the Oogie Boogie Bash.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Halloween, and that whole experience looks cool. Especially obviously you get to see a bunch of the villains, but the last one, we kept seeing TikToks of Ernesto de la Cruz.
Yes.
Good grief. Did that costume, say what you want about some of the more campier, like Disneyland character costumes. They had someone that looked like he came straight out of a Pixar movie.
Yep.
It was
I don't know
chilling.
how they did the makeup on his face. Yeah, and his singing was so chilling.
So cool.
Yes, and so good. Yeah. So, because, yeah, they have this whole trick or treat line. And so you just go by and see all the characters. And so it's one long line instead of having to wait for each individual character. So it's actually attainable to see them all from how I understand it. And you get to dress up, which is not really my thing, but it would be fun to do as a family.
It would be a lot of fun to do Halloween.
So that is my number 3.
And they've announced that there's going to be new villains, and they've hinted that it's potentially going to be Judge Doom from Roger Rabbit and Yokai, or I think that's a Yokai or Callahan from Big Hero 6. But,
I thought...
Judge Doom, I'm more excited about, not Yokai Watch.
Yeah. I was like, what? Our first
I don't know. I Googled it just now, and that's what it says. The next one on my list is to go on Guardians Monsters After Dark, which is the Halloween overlay of Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout in DCA. I've never had a chance. I didn't even know this was a thing because we don't go at Halloween time normally. But once night falls, they switch it over to a spookier storyline, and apparently the entire atmosphere in the line changes. The storyline of the ride changes, and it's, to me, the best ride in California Adventure, and to experience it in a different way, I'm really, really excited about potentially trying that.
Yeah, and I said earlier that we have been at Halloween time, but it has been 15 years.
Yeah.
Because we were in college when we had gone at Halloween time. So Guardians of the Galaxy was still Tower of Terror.
Yeah.
So this overlay did not exist back then. So that'll be
excited.
Exciting for you to experience here
Alone
shortly.
by myself.
All right. My next one is Star Wars Night. I think that after hours event would be very interesting to experience. Based on our Sweetheart Night experience, I would have much lower expectations in terms of meeting characters, getting food on time, and all of that. But the Star Wars theme being throughout the whole park just sounds really interesting and a lot of fun. And I am not a crazy Star Wars fan, but you are, Daniel. And so it would be neat to experience it with you.
Oh, yeah, me just like tearing up and crying the entire night because I'm so happy.
Yes, and you walking around in the Jedi robe that I made you.
Yeah, I mean, Galaxy's Edge is the most immersive experience in the park, and them extending it to the entire park would be really cool. You see the big spider up on the wall?
Yeah.
He's probably fine.
Pause.
Number 4 for me is to earn an honorary citizen badge from Disneyland. So the pins are something you can pick up at Town Hall. And you can get celebration pins, all kinds of different pins. Apparently, you can get this by asking, but they'll ask you a trivia question. But cast members will also hand them out if they see someone they think is deserving of an honorary citizen pin, an honorary Disneyland citizen pin. And I want to get one of those pins, and I want it to be given to me by a cast member.
So are you just going to go around and pick up trash for like a whole day at Disneyland or something?
Trash that I've already littered earlier in the day so that
they're going to see that.
So I'll get that pin.
And then what are they going to say to you?
They're going to call me
have a
good
Disney
boy.
day.
Yeah, they're going to say have a Disney day.
So this is the top of my list. So whether number 5 is the top or 1 is the top, I would like to stay in the Grand Californian. That is my top of my list.
What is the Grand
extra
Californian?
Experiences. That is one of the Disneyland hotels. It is the closest to the parks. It is the most grand, in my opinion, and it is actually attached to California Adventure. Yes.
Right by Grizzly River Run.
And has a storyteller cafe, which we also love. It is the buffet that we went to. Yeah. So I would love to stay there, but it is between $400 and $700 a night.
I might be getting like a 25-cent an hour raise, so we'll see.
Yeah, you're not the one paying for that hotel.
My number 5 is something that I have always wanted to do and have attempted, I would say, most times that we've been to Disneyland.
Oh.
But it's to pull the sword from the stone in Fantasyland.
That is a good one.
I've never even seen it happen in person. The recordings that I have seen of it, it's happened pretty spontaneously. Someone is attempting to pull the sword from the stone and it lifts for them. That would be, if we were not filming me and it happened, that'd be just fine with me because I would probably be simultaneously crying and like laughing. I was told as a child that if it happened, you became king of Disneyland and got to cut in line on every ride. I don't think that's accurate. But
you don't think it's accurate?
But regardless, it is, I would say, Out of everything on my list, it is probably the single thing that I would be the most excited about.
But I don't think they pick strong men to pull the sword from the stone. I'm sorry.
I gotta look weaker. If I'm in a wheelchair.
No. You're not including this.
As we finish up here, we're going to go ahead and read a question from a listener. You too can submit questions by emailing us at what's our podcast name?
OfMiceandMatterhorns.
OfMiceandMatterhorns@gmail.com. We have a question here. Big fan. I've listened to every episode. If you could build a new ride, what would it be? And why would it be Fantasia? Thanks, Whit.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it.
But you know what? He's right. I would pick Fantasia if I were building a new ride.
From what I've seen of Fantasia in Fantasmic, I think I would agree.
I would want it to be, so if Universal Studios has a Harry Potter ride that mixes screen technology with like actual dark ride technology, and it's pretty exciting, a little bit nauseating, but I would think you'd want some sort of hybrid situation like that too. They got plenty of room in Tomorrowland, although it would fit better in Fantasyland. I don't know the details, but I think you could get really fun with a Fantasia ride. That's what I'd pick. He's right. I'd pick that. How about you?
Yeah, I think Fantasia would be cool. Can I upgrade a ride?
Sure.
I would love for Autopia to be electric cars.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Either that or take it out and put something else there. It's a big
or
footprint.
flying cars. Like Autopia was advanced for when it was first made, and now it's like 50 years behind.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for you this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you could leave us a review or a rating on Apple iTunes. I'm not an Apple person. Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, anywhere that you can. If you could share this with anybody that you like, especially if you enjoyed this episode, that would do us a huge favor.
Even if you hated it, just go ahead and share.
Yeah, just blast us. We'll read your review on an episode. Just fire away. If you want to insult us directly, you can find us on most social media at Of Mice and Matterhorns, and that includes Instagram primarily, Threads, TikTok. Yeah, we're going to probably start up a Facebook page as our primary website, for now anyway. We have some exciting stuff in the works.
Yes, so we are going to be doing a competition at Disneyland, so tune in next time to hear more details of what that will look like.
Yep, and as always, thank you so much for listening, and have a Disney day.
Your attention, please. Of Mice and Matterhorns has now ended its normal operating episode. We thank you for your visit to our podcast and hope that the memories that you made will bring you back soon.